I want to tell you a story, not a story about a person who wakes up every morning with perfect hair, perfect plans, perfect confidence, and perfect little breakfast waiting on the table. No, this is a story about you. And honestly, your story is probably a little messy. Maybe some pages are confusing, some are funny, some are sad, some are so chaotic that if somebody made a movie about them, you will probably say, okay, who approved this script? But there is something beautiful about your story. It's still being written. And that means today is not the ending. Maybe you woke up this morning feeling tired. Maybe you looked at your life and thought, this is not exactly how I imagined things would be. Maybe you have dreams sitting quietly inside your heart, but you haven't told anyone about because you're afraid they might laugh. Maybe you are trying your best, but your best doesn't look very impressive from the outside. Maybe you're waiting for something to change. Maybe you're waiting for a miracle. Maybe you're waiting for a moment when finally makes sense. And maybe, just maybe, the little miracle you have been waiting for, it's already growing inside you. Because sometimes we expect magic to arrive with fireworks. We imagine a GM moment, a door suddenly opening, a dream suddenly coming true, a message appearing on your phone that changes everything, a person coming into our lives and making everything better, a big opportunity, a big success. A moment where we can finally point at our life and say, look, I made it. But real magic is often more quieter. Sometimes magic is waking up and trying again. Sometimes magic is getting out of bed when you really wanted to stay there. Sometimes magic is smiling even though yesterday was difficult. Sometimes magic is forgiving yourself. Sometimes magic is saying, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to take one more step. Sometimes magic is simply refusing to give up on yourself. And I know that doesn't sound as exciting as fireworks, but trust me, a tiny spark can become a flame. A tiny seed can become a tree. A tiny step can become an entire different life. So please don't underestimate the little things you are doing today. You don't have to change your entire life before breakfast. You don't have to become the most successful person on the planet tomorrow. You don't have to have a 10-year plan. You don't even have to know what you're having for dinner. Sometimes all you need to know is, I'm going to keep going. That's enough. One step, then another. And one day you're going to look back and realize that those tiny steps were taking you somewhere well along. Think about a little star in the sky. Imagine that star looking down at all the other stars and say, wow, they are so much brighter than me. Wouldn't that be silly? Because the sky doesn't need one star to be brighter and another. Every star has its own little place. Every flower blooms differently. Every tree grows at its own speed. And you are not supposed to become somebody else. You are supposed to become more you. So stop looking at someone else's life and using it as a role to measure your own. You don't know the whole story. You see the picture. You don't see the preparation. You see the success. You don't see the failures. You see the smile. You don't see the tears. You see the finished castle. You don't see all the tiny bricks they had to carry. And maybe your castle is still being built. That's okay. Build it slowly. Build it with love. Build it with mistakes. Build it with laughter. Build it with lessons. Build it with those little moments where you have absolutely no idea why you're doing, because those moments count too. And please don't be embarrassed by the version of you who is still learning. That little version of you deserves kindness. The version who made mistakes, the version who trusted the wrong person, the version who didn't know better, the version who tried something and failed, the version who gave up for a little while, the version that cried about things that seem silly now, the version who didn't know how strong they were. That person wasn't stupid, that person was learning. And maybe you need to hear this today. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to start over. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to discover new dreams. You are allowed to say, this is not working for me anymore. You are allowed to become someone your younger self would be proud of. and you are allowed to take your time. A flower doesn't apologize because another flower bloomed first. Imagine a sunflower standing next to a rose, say, "Sorry, I'm late, guys." No, it simply grows. So grow at your speed, in your season, in your own beautiful, slightly chaotic way. And if you're having one of those days where everything feels heavy, I want you to remember something. You don't have to carry tomorrow today. Tomorrow can wait. You don't have to solve every problem at once. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. Just take care of today. Drink some water. Take a breath. Go outside if you can. Listen to a song that makes you feel alive. Laugh at something ridiculous. Call someone you love, look at the sky, pet the dog, hug your favorite person, eat something delicious, and yet, if necessary, have a dramatic little dance in your room. Nobody has to say it. Actually, maybe nobody should say it. Take the world from your choreography. But seriously, give yourself permission to enjoy small moments because life isn't made only of giant achievements. Life is made of tiny moments, the smell of coffee, the first laugh of the morning, a funny message from someone you love, a stranger smiling at you, a meal that tastes better than you expected, a peaceful walk, a silly joke, a beautiful sunset, a conversation that makes your heart feel understood. Those little moments, they are not interruptions of life. They are life. So don't wait until everything is perfect before you allow yourself to be happy. There may never be a perfect moment, and that's okay. Perfect is overrated anyway. Perfect doesn't last. Perfect doesn't make mistakes. Perfect doesn't learn. Perfect doesn't grow, but you do. And that's much more interesting. Maybe you are not where you thought you would be. Maybe you thought by now you'd have more money, more confidence, more answers, more success, more friends, more clarity. Maybe you imagine a completely different version of your life. And it can hurt when reality doesn't match the picture in your head. I understand, but please don't confuse different with wrong. Your life can take a different road and still can lead somewhere beautiful. Sometimes the road you didn't plan becomes the road that teaches you everything you needed to know. Sometimes the closed door protects you, the people, places, and opportunities you ever have discovered otherwise. And sometimes you simply need to keep walking toward until the picture becomes clearer. So don't throw away your whole story because you don't like the current chapter. It's only a chapter, not the whole book. A bad chapter doesn't mean it's a bad story. A lonely chapter doesn't mean you're always being lonely. A difficult chapter doesn't mean you're always struggle. A chapter full of mistakes doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you're human, and humans are wonderfully unfinished creators. We learn, we stumble, we cry, we laugh, we get back, we try again, we become, and maybe that's the real adventure. Not becoming perfect, but becoming more comfortable with the beautiful, imperfect person you already are. So tonight before you go to sleep, I wanted to ask you yourself a little question. What is something beautiful is still waiting for me? What if the next month surprises you? What if the next conversation changes something? What if the opportunity you thought will never come finally arrive? What if you meet someone who becomes important to you? What if you discover something you're incredibly good at? What if you wake up one day and realize that the thing you cried about didn't destroy you? What if you become stronger? What if you become happier? What if you finally believe in yourself? What if the best pages of your story haven't even been written yet? That's the part I want you to hold on to because you don't know what's coming. And yes, that can be scary, but it can also be exciting. The future is a blank page. And blank pages are full of possibilities. So pick up your imaginary little pen, write something brave, write something kind, write something funny, write something unexpected. And if you make a mistake, turn the page. If you don't like the chapter, keep reading. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to begin again, begin again. No shame in starting over. Sometimes starting over is the bravest thing a person can do. And if nobody has told you this lately, I'm proud of you. Not because you have everything figured out, not because you've achieved everything you wanted, not because you're always strong. I'm proud of you because you're still here, still trying, still hoping, still dreaming, still finding reasons to laugh, still looking for a little light. And maybe that's enough for today. So take your little heart, your weird little dreams, your imperfect plans, your questionable decisions, and keep going. You don't need to know the whole road. You only need enough courage for the next step. And when you get there, take another slowly, bravely, gently, one tiny step at a time. Please don't forget to subscribe. It really helps to support the channel.